You throw them, break. Okay, they break throws. So you try a low, blocked. Right, they also seem to be blocking lows. You approach, counter hit. Okay, I can't seem to approach like that. And 30 seconds later, you are now barely doing anything. Not because your opponent shut down your entire game plan, but because every time something failed once, you removed it yourself. One throw break became throws don't work. One blocked low became they read lows. One counter hit became I cannot approach. Your opponent did not figure you out. You just eliminated your own options for them. Welcome back to How Winners Think. Last episode, we talked about the difference between patience and passivity. But there is another reason players become passive. They try something new and it fails, and then immediately decide that they shouldn't try it again. The problem is that one result does not necessarily tell you very much. Your opponent just might have guessed. The timing might have just been obvious. They might have simply made the correct decision once at the right time. Today, we are talking about why players draw conclusions way too quickly. How one failed attempt can unnecessarily shrink your entire game plan, and why strong competitors don't just look at what happened. They look for whether it happens again. Because there is an important difference between a result and a pattern. Human beings love conclusions. Something happens and then immediately we want to know what it means, why it happened. Your throw gets broken. Now you're saying that they are good at throw breaks. Your low gets blocked. They are now reading my lows. You get interrupted. They obviously knew this setup. Maybe, yes, maybe, but there is another possibility. They were simply right once. Tekken contains uncertainty. Sometimes you see your opponent guesses correctly. Sometimes you may guess incorrectly. Sometimes even an interaction tells you something much more important. And sometimes it's just one interaction. The mistake is treating every result as though they were definitive proof. Think about it this way. One throw break is a result. Multiple throw breaks across different situations. Now we are collecting evidence. One duck is a result. Repeated ducks in the same situation. Now we may have a pattern. Good players don't ignore the first result. They remember it. But they don't immediately build their entire strategy around it. They think to themselves, interesting, not confirmed. That difference matters because once you label something as confirmed, your behavior changes. And if your conclusion was wrong, you are now adapting to a pattern that never existed. Imagine your game plan has 10 useful options. You throw, they break it. You stop throwing, 9 options left. You use a throw, you use a low, blocked. You stop using that low, 8. You try pressure, they challenge successfully. You stop pressuring, 7. Keep doing this and eventually you are fighting with half your original game plan. Your opponent didn't force you to do that. You did. And here is the irony. You are trying to become harder to counter, but you are actually becoming much more easier to read. Because every failed option gets removed, your choices now become much more narrower. Your opponent has fewer things to now worry about. and then eventually you are practically telling them what comes next. Here is a better way to think instead of asking. This statement, will this work? Don't use that. Ask yourself instead, how will your opponent respond? So let's say you throw them, they break it. Okay, don't immediately think to yourself, throws are useless. Think to yourself, interesting. Let's see what happens later. You show the throw again, but this time in a different situation. Maybe they break again. Now you are learning something. Maybe they duck. That is different information. Maybe they panic and press. That is more information. The move itself doesn't always need to succeed for the interaction to have some form of value. Sometimes you are using an option to ask your opponent a question, and what matters most is the answer that they decide to give you within the moment. This is where your relationship with failure needs to change. A failed move isn't automatically a failed decision. Imagine you throw your opponent, they break it. Did you lose that interaction? Technically, yes, but now you know something you didn't know before. Test it later. Another break? Interesting. Later, another one. Now we have evidence. Maybe this player genuinely has a strong throw defense game. Great. Now we adapt. But I want you to notice the order. You didn't panic after one result. You observed. You tested. You then gathered evidence. Then you changed your strategy. That is much stronger than letting one moment dictate the rest of the match. During your next ranked session, whenever something fails once, say to yourself, this is just one data point. That's it. Do not ignore what happened, but don't overreact either. Keep playing. If you see the same response again, pay attention. And if you see it repeatedly, now you have something worth adapting to. We are trying to change the mental process from something happened towards conclusion into something happened towards observe, then test, evidence, and then lastly conclusion. That extra step can stop you from eliminating perfectly good options based on almost no information. Tekken happens quickly, so naturally that we want quick answers. But strong decision making requires being comfortable with uncertainty. You don't always know after one interaction, and that is okay because you don't need to. Sometimes the correct response is just simply saying, I saw that, and then just keep watching. Because your opponent should have to prove the pattern before you completely reshape your game around it. One successful defense doesn't mean that they have solved you. One failed attack does not mean that your strategy is also bad. And one bad result does not mean that you should never try it again. If you remember one thing from this video, I want you to remember this. Do not confuse a result with a pattern. One result is information. Repeated results become evidence. And most importantly, do not let one failed attempt teach you something that your opponent never proved to you that they have solved. The next time your throw gets broken, your low gets blocked, or your approach gets interrupted, do not immediately think to yourself, well, I cannot do this anymore. Just think to yourself, this is one data point. Watch, test, learn, then adapt when the evidence actually gives you a reason to. This has been how winners think. Until next time, don't remove your own weapons just because one of them missed. Think first.